today's episode, I'm going to show you how to get rid of some of this stuff on this engine. Emissions removal. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering Adventures. Today I'm going to show you how to take off some of the emissions equipment on a KTM 950. Now remember, this is for closed course operation only here, boys and girls. You cannot tamper with emission systems on vehicles that are operated on a public highway. So now that that exclusion has been noted, I'm going to show you how to do this. Now unfortunately, the vehicle that I'm working on today has had some of the stuff removed already, but you should get a pretty good idea of what you need to do here. I've already removed the tanks, the seat, and the carburetors have already been taken off. So if you don't know how to do that, I'm going to link my valve adjustment video in here at some point, I'm sure, and that'll show you how to get that much of the stuff off. Now these carburetors are already loose, so I'm going to show you this rear hose comes off. There's a hose on the front, of course, that comes off. I'll take that lid off. There's little twisty pieces in here. I took those out already. So we're down to this part. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to follow this. Up here, there's a T. Over on this side. Bring it over here. So it tees off right here. And then it goes to the front cylinder, and then this hose over here goes to the back cylinder. And it goes to this plate. So we're going to remove both of those plates. They're held on with two 8mm bolts. So I'm going to pull all that off. I'm going to lift this up and out of the way so you can kind of see it. There you go. There's the hose. There's the T. So we're going to take all that off, and then one of the first things that we're going to have to do after that is we're going to put a cap on here. So I've purchased a bunch of caps at my local auto parts store, rubber or vinyl caps, whatever you happen to have. I've also seen people just duct tape this. I've seen people put a short section of hose with a ball bearing or a bolt or a golf tee, whatever you want to do. This has to get closed off. When all is said and done, you'll have a octopus looking thing like this. Now this small hose goes to the rear cylinder right there. So there's another place that we're gonna plug this. Now some YouTube channels are just gonna say, just like I did, I know, just remove it, it's easy. This front one is a total itch. It's very hard to get in here, and if you're lucky like me, you'll drop some hardware down in there and have to go fishing. It's a real pain in the backside. So now what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to get our little caps. We're going to cap that one, cap the other one, and now we need to make some blank off plates. So you can use steel, you can use aluminum, whatever you like. I just happen to have this piece of aluminum sheet and already had some holes drilled in it. So I'm probably just going to use one of the holes, trace around, maybe one over here, a bit easier. Whatever I do, going to cut two of these out, one for the front, one for the back, and then we're going to put those plates that we make on here. And there's like a little reed valve or something in here. Just leave that in there because it has a rubber gasket on it, so use that as the gasket. So I'm going to build those up. I'll show you them when I'm done, and like I said, make sure you put your caps on those two items. I used my old Craftsman variable speed scroll saw to cut this out. You could use just about anything, I suppose, depending on the thickness of the metal. Maybe you could even use a tin snips, hacksaw, angle grinder with a cutting wheel. Then I used my belt sander, put in my vise here to round off all the edges, drilled the holes with my drill press, and there is our lovely little blank off plate. Let's see here. How does this go in here? Like that. So like that, I think. Let's go check. Lovely. Let me put a bolt or two in there. We'll see how she looks. Coming at it from back here. There it is. So we've removed that plate and all the hose, all that crap underneath there. I think there was probably another piece on here that someone else has already removed, but regardless of all that, we can lop this off of here, and that'll give us access to that rear spark plug at least. I think what I'm going to do is actually take this whole bracket off and cut these off and then put this back on here. And of course, make a plate for the front and install that. And that's part one of emissions removal here, and I will show you part two once I get that done. There she is, neatly tucked away in the front cylinder. And let me tell you, boys and girls, that is a giant pain to get that in there. I dropped the bolts a couple times, more than two, less than 100. And then once I got them started, well, actually I got the top one started, getting the bottom one started was even trickier. Put a little bit of grease on the bolt head so it would stick in the socket, got it in there. But this part is complete. So now we're gonna move on to the next part. Now, this bike had a canister up in here, charcoal canister. That was already removed when I started working on the bike. And the customer complained that the bike was not running good, and well, that would explain it. You got open vacuum lines in here. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to remove all these vacuum lines. This one and that one. There you go. And we're going to trace these back. And this one goes here. So we can go ahead and block that one off. There should also be another one right there. We can block that one off. And there's one there. We can block that one off. And then we're going to go about getting rid of that thing there. I got all vacuum lines out of here, and I started putting caps on these. And then I realized that these fittings are just screwed into the side. So if you have a bolt or a screw, a short one, this is the size that comes out of here. And they're like a M6, I think. So if you have additional, or you want to go buy some short ones, you could do that. I put a little bit of this pipe thread sealer on that screw, and I'm going to probably do the same for all of these. I'm going to just search out some short screws and replace them. Now, another thing you can do as well is put some hoses on the front and the back one, and then route the hoses up into this area up here, because then once you drop everything back down, then those hoses will be available for you to use to do a carb balance, carb sync if you want. I am going to be using a little different tool to do my carb sync for this bike, so I'm not going to hook them up at this point, but you could route them back here and then put bolts, or put a little adapter and put a cap on it, or put golf tees or whatever you'd like just to cap those up. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that option out there instead of putting these caps on here, which all I had was these vinyl ones at this time. You can put bolts in there for a little bit neater appearance. So on to the next step. We are going to remove this item here, this little valve that attaches to the carburetor vents. And I don't know how well you can see inside of there. There's two bolts. So take those two bolts off, and I'm going to bring you over to the other side over here. And it attaches right there. You can see it's already been removed to this little Y fitting. Can't see it very well up there, but it attaches to these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some longer hoses once I remove that. And I am going to run two hoses out where there was one. So there'll be a little bit longer hoses. There's actually a measurement from what the original KTM design was. Like the front hose was 10 inches and the rear hose was 9 inches or something, and they come back here. They're just carburetor vents. So I'm going to try to find that actual measurement and let you know what it is. so that if you want to do it that way, you can. Otherwise, you could just leave that Y hooked up and just put one hose out the bottom. It's up to you. Okay, I found the post on the KTM site about the hoses. One of them was 10.8 or something, the other one was 9.8. Well, anyway, one of the other hoses that are moved was about 20 inches or so. So I just cut it in half. And now we have the hoses coming out. Actually, this other one popped back out of here. Now I gotta push it back through here. Anyway, that's the idea. Run your hoses out. Bottom there. Which one is not through? Ah, the front one. I gotta reroute that one back out. But just vent them to the atmosphere. And now I can start putting everything back together here. So I will get these carburetors installed and I'll come on back to you. Now I don't remember the name of the emission system that's already been removed here. Remember I mentioned that there was 2 tabs out of here. Well, there's a plug that goes into it, and I believe this is the one for the rear. I'll bring it around to the right side of the bike. And you can see there's a tab here and a plug here. And that's for the front. And there's a hole right here that has a rubber plug in it and a hole right here that has a rubber plug. So that system's already been removed on this bike. Now, I'm not 100% positive, but I believe I read something on one of the forums about a resistor that you're supposed to put in here, or different places sell, they call it a dongle, just something you plug in here. Supposedly ABS light is lit up on the dash. Now I don't know if this bike has ABS light or not. The gentleman brought it over here, he ran it, and we rode it right up onto the stand here. I didn't even really pay attention to that ABS light, so if in fact this has a ABS light error or something, we'll look into getting him that dongle or purchasing the resistor, but you can look that up. Anyway, I just know that it slides off of here and it routes into the air box here on the front one and here on the rear one. So there's that. I've put everything mostly back together, installed the lower part of the air box, pushed the carburetors on, tightened up the clamps on the bottom. You want to make sure that your throttle is still smooth, your choke is still operating smoothly, and everything is of course out of the way. And then you can install your triangle covers. And if that's all you want to do, you're done at this point. I am going to make a follow-on video for this on synchronizing the carburetors. So if you'd like to watch that, check out my other videos. It'll be on here at some point after this one. But that's going to be about it for the emissions removal. Of course, you know, put everything back together. Hopefully if you're this far into it, you know how to do that. All right. If you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up. And if you would, please leave a comment down below. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.